What's up guys, and we're back with another AIO, and this time, well, again 360 AIO, and this time for the first time actually on the whole channel we have an Enermax AIO. This one right here is the Enermax AQUAFUSION ADV all-in-one liquid CPU cooler, 360 radiator, three 120mm fans, completely different design and shape when it comes to the housing. And will that affect the cooling or performance in that term, since we're going to test it on AMD Ryzen CPU, which you already seen a couple of benchmarks already. And the quite interesting thing is that the cold plate of the block is quite larger than usual on other AIOs. Will that be better or will that be worse, or even can it fit Threadripper, is going to be quite interesting. Now, checking out the radiator right from the box and everything, it looks quite normal, different design than usual, but that doesn't have to do anything with cooling, and it looks a bit slimmer, but we will get to the specifications right now. So it supports Intel sockets up to 1700 and AMD up to AM5, so no mention of Threadripper as I thought it would be. We have radiator dimensions 394 times 120 times 27, so it is a bit thicker. It's not 25, it's a bit thicker, but okay. Tube length is 400 millimeters, cold plate is copper, and we have radiator out of aluminium. Tubes are rubber, and then we have the pump. Now the pump has mean time before failure up to 50,000 hours. The fans, mean time before failure equal or even above 100,000 hours. The speed is 500 to 2000 RPMs. The dimensions are 120 to 120/26. So the airflow is 39 to 79.8 CFM depending on the RPMs. The static pressure is from 0.67 up to 3.6 millimeter per H2O. And we have noise level going from 15 to 32.6 decibels, which is quite good actually when we're talking about that. Then we have quite interesting pump block top, and it has a nice mirror effect, which you will see quite shortly. So it's called Luminous Aura Belt and Infinite RGB Reflection. Nice. The Enermax SQUA RGB ADV fans have the Vortex frame technology and the downsize hub design, which provides an optimal cooling performance, which we will of course check it out. I mean, I can't test out the exact performance of the fans, but we will check it out through the cooling with the AIO and see how that performs. The cool thing with the AIO, you get the Enermax RGB control box, which gives you up to 10 presence of lighting effects. You can use that to control the RGB. If, for instance, you have an older motherboard that doesn't support addressable RGB and all the other stuff. When we're looking at the design, as already stated, it actually does have a round shape in the middle, but you have here on the back some strange fins for, I don't know if that makes any sense when it comes to blocking air. I honestly don't know, but we will see that in the performance test when I plug this in and check it out how these fans perform. Of course, a little bit refreshment when it comes to the design of the fans and how they look from the outer side. I know some of you won't even bother with the addressable RGB and the shape of the fans and everything else, but the refreshment of the design to give something new to the PC for you new guys that are checking out AIOs, this might be something really cool. Think it's time to place this AIO inside the build, run some benches, and check out how the AMD Ryzen 9 7900X performs in Cinebench R23. So without blabbering too much about that, which you already heard a couple of million times, let's place it in the build. Okay, first of all, I do have to mention a couple of things. The installation part is extremely easy. So the fans have a splitter on the cables for the addressable RGB, and that's outstanding for you guys to actually do a cable management quite easily. And the one thing that you need to do is connect the addressable RGB header to the pump, which is also fairly easy. But that cable has only one cable running out, so no splitter. In that terms, you daisy chain all the fans together and the pump connected to the last one, which is daisy chained, and then the end finally goes to your motherboard. Otherwise, if you don't have addressable RGB header, you could easily connect it directly to that small controller, Enermax box controller, to control all the 10 different light modes that you could come up with from the box. That's it. Now, when we're talking about the cables in general, we have also the PWM splitter to actually connect all the fans to one header on your motherboard, so that leaves you up to 2 headers on your motherboard usage, one for the pump and one for the fans. That's it. Installation quite straightforward actually. You do have to remove the top plastic mounting of the AM5 or AM4 motherboards when we're talking about AMD, and place the standoffs that come inside this box on the motherboard to hold the original backplate from the motherboard. Basically that's it. You place the additional mounting mechanism on the pump, place the thermal paste, lock it up with thumb screws, and you're good to go. I done this. I placed the AIO on this build in, I would say, under 10 minutes or something. So really straightforward. There's nothing too much, no fuss, no problems. Literally first power on, it booted without any issues. Now, the thermals, right? Well, basically not the thermals, the scores, because we have AMD inside, as already stated, AMD Ryzen 9 7900X. The fans go up to 100% speed, and in AIDA 64 Extreme Edition, the clock speed went up to 5350 MHz under fan speed on 100%, 89 degrees Celsius. This is, I think, the highest clock, or one of the highest clocks on the 7900X that I've seen in all my benchmarks so far. Now, with the 65% load on the fans with the same temperature, we got 5250 MHz, which is still quite alright. Now, the one thing that you'll most likely want to know is Cinebench R23 and what does it do. So the clock speed goes up to maximum 5200 MHz, and it stays on that clock speed throughout all 10 stress tests that I did. So 89 degrees Celsius, it basically stays on that temperature without even moving. So here's the interesting part. As already stated, I ran 10 stress tests on Cinebench R23 with this processor and this cooler. So first one scored 28,683. Then we have a bit of a rise. Then it goes back a bit below, so 28,717. And then we end up at 28,943. So basically what we get with this cooler is a constant, well, not basically a constant rise in performance when we're talking about Cinebench R23, but through time it gets much better scores, and even better scores than I got with other AIOs. So it's not that I'm degrading other AIOs, because we had Team Group Siren Duo 360, which cooled the SSD and CPU at the same time, lowering down the SSD even though it had heat coming from the GPU, which was outstanding, of course. This one, with of course the load on the fans, was at 100% constant. With other AIOs, I actually placed it on 65 fixed, and it was at that point constantly going throughout the whole benchmark. So for instance, if I placed 100% load on the other AIOs, it would definitely be a different score. But what I am surprised, and I shouldn't be honestly, is that it does perform quite nicely. I would regulate the fan speed, because the decibel noise when they are up to 100 is really loud, as already stated, and what I read from the specifications, around 33 decibels, which could be unbearable if you ran the benchmark, game, test, render, whatever, above 10 minutes. I mean, you could bear 10 minutes with those kind of noise, but since we're aiming for some sort of a quiet build in terms of good cooling and great performance and stuff like that, and we're always balancing the stuff in the middle, I think you would lower the fan speeds definitely below 80 70, maybe even a percent of speed of RPMs to get that quite nice balance when we're talking about performance, cooling and decibel noise. Also, I do have to add that the pump is dead silent. It's not that it isn't working, right? But it's quite nice and quiet and does the job doing what it should do. So all the technologies that they stated, they do the job. So in all fairness, I'm quite satisfied with the Enermax AQUAFUSION ADV AIO CPU liquid cooling system with 360 radiator. So in that terms, I'll place the links below. You can check out the prices and eventually maybe some specifications if I might have skipped something. I don't know. I think I covered everything. So yeah, there's that. So guys, hope you liked the video. Hope you enjoyed this, well, basically a different test, a different benchmark, because this time I ran more Cinebench tests compared to the others, and I wanted to give you even more details than in the past videos. And as you might have noticed if you're a regular here, that each time I do a new video, they're more detailed, you have more information, more benchmarks, more tests, more thermals, and more in-depth situation when we're talking about in general components and testing and reviews and stuff. But hey, I'm learning throughout the whole process, so hope eventually I'll get to that point where everything will be almost perfect. Thanks for watching. That's it. Hope you liked it. If you did, subscribe, hit the like button, notification bell, and guys, see you next time. Bye bye.